Hello everybody, my name is Shoelace and welcome to the first edition of free-to-play reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing Warframe, a game that is rising high on the free-to-play section of Steam, and this is just a video for anybody who is moderately interested and want to know more about the game. So let's get straight into it. The lore and story behind Warframe is a very complex one, so hopefully you'll forgive me for any errors in my explanation. In Warframe, you play as one of the Tenno, a post-human race of space ninjas that enact a form of justice on the threats to the galaxy. This is a third-person action shooter, setting you against hordes of enemies with all surprisingly different tactics and traits. It is a mission-based game that you can play up to 4 players in many different missions from extermination, capture, spy, defense, and survival. Your goals in the game are to travel planet to planet, completing missions and assassinating targets at the end of each planet, which count as the big boss battle towards each planetary mission. You're also asked to gather loot so that you can craft and purchase more weapons and even warframes, which count as the equipable characters in the game, which offer varying power and ability in different fields, from being able to shoot fireballs to stealthing your way through entire space stations, pushing the concept of providing a very modular game. This game's roster of gameplay is immense, so I'll try to condense this as much as I can. First, we'll talk about the basic gameplay mechanics. In the mission, you're equipped with a warframe of your choice, a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, melee weapon, a companion, which could be a drone or an alien dog, as well as any specific gear you choose to bring, which could be ammo, health, airstrikes, and infantry ally support during the mission. You then select a mission and are taken to a large range of locations, which could be frigid icelands, burning deserts, lush swamps, grimy space stations, clean trading ports, and hyper-advanced void bases, all of which are randomly generated from the game's built-in tile system. At this point, you're usually given 2 tactical choices, either stealth or a full frontal assault. Starting with the open combat, this game has very visceral and entertaining combat, pitting you against swarms of enemies, all blasting away, creating a bullet swarm sensation that you find yourself overcoming time and time again. It's really rewarding and extremely fun to play. Stealth, on the other hand, is not quite currently polished. It is simply due to the terrible AI that currently exists for the stealth detection. However, the company that is behind Warframe, Digital Extremes, has been applying massive redesigns for a lot of game features for a long time now, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was fixed in the near future. Regardless of the tactics that you choose, you'll eventually be picking up many different forms of salvage, blueprints, and even mods throughout the game that you can bring back to your ship to later upgrade your warframe. Mods are definitely one of the most important pieces of this game. They can be applied to your warframe, all your weapons, as well as your assistant, whether that be your sentinel or your Kubro, as well as being able to modify and alter the appearance and abilities of each of your warframes. So for example, if you want to have a character who does specifically fire damage and only fire damage, then you can do that with any of the warframes that you choose, even if you're equipped with a warframe like the Frost, which primarily uses frost damage. Now keep in mind that this is just the surface of this game. There is a lot to look into here, whether it be void missions, assassination missions, you have your space-wielding jetpack ability that leads you into space battles and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different modes in this game that you can go down, as well as many different quests and different items that you can go through on your own accord. But I recommend that you go check those out yourself because they are varied in gameplay mechanics, and it will vary person to person on whether or not it will be something that you enjoy. Alright, now we're going to head into the graphics section where I talk about the options and the graphic settings and see if they're up to par in the game. So probably should rename that to just options, but we'll live with it for now. So first off, aim sensitivity, changing the y-axis, pretty standard. All of these control schemes can be changed, which I'd truly appreciate. As well as some being able to toggle rather than just being able to hold a button or double tap in order to switch things, which is also good, such as the equip melee button. That's not normally something you do. You would just hold down the F key in order to be able to do that. There's also one for a controller scheme or a gamepad, which is good. I appreciate that, although I prefer mouse and keyboard. There's really no reason for it. I don't know what southpaw means, but I'm glad it's here. So, camera tracking, melee targets, toggle sprinting, toggle aim weapon, all sorts of things like that. All very good things to have. I don't necessarily have any complaints here. Showing HUD, that is really good, although the HUD in this game is already very minimalist, which I truly appreciate, but I'm glad that you're able to change things. Okay, and then here we have some show health over enemies. You can choose to turn all these things off, which is nice. And for the display, borderless full screen is an option, as well as everything else. 60 hertz, all the video resolutions that you can get. You can change the vertical sync, the frame rate limit. I'm not sure why you would do that. The game looks beautiful in all sense of the words. I'm not really quite sure if it holds up in lower settings. I didn't get any footage of that, but you are welcome to go and see. But I do know the frame rate of this game is very easy to achieve. Now on to the actual point of this series. I'm going to be talking about the grind because it is a large point in all free-to-play games. Look, so let's get straight into Warframe. This game is probably one of the most grindy games that I have ever come across. But it's still fun. It's very strange to have a game like this because I don't usually come across it in the free-to-play section. Either something is way too grindy or way too expensive. This game is somehow making that balance almost perfectly. Now, in aspect of the grind, this game can really vary player to player based off of what kind of playstyle that you're trying to achieve in this game. If you want to have a stealth character, it may be slightly more difficult for you than any other player. For example, the Rhino, a very large tanky Warframe, is available on Venus, which is one of the first planets that you get to go to. However, for example, the Frost, you don't have access until a planet that's much later within the campaign. It will take you an extremely long time to gain access to it. And it may take you up to a month in time because a lot of the building in the foundry will take up to 24 hours even after you've assembled all the parts and gathered all the credits, because there is a timer and a wait towards each of these little items. But that's okay to me. To be honest, there are worse free-to-play games, and this is one of the better ones when it comes to grindability, because the grind itself is the game, and the game is a lot of fun. So just focus on that aspect of it and try and enjoy yourself for the Warframes that you have. Alright, now for microtransactions. Now the first two things that we're going to be focusing on is what can it be used on and how expensive is it. Now, platinum can be used to rush different foundry items as well as buy warframes and weapons for the game, as well as many different aesthetic items that are available. Now, these things are very, very inconsequential towards the final game, as opposed to many other free-to-play games. Because it is a PvE game, it doesn't really conflict with the interest of other characters that you have a gun that is very difficult to get for a lot of other players. Now, although platinum does appear to be expensive, it is not expensive as it actually is. Due to the in-game reward system that you get every day for logging in, it is very common to get a 15%, 10%, even a 20% discount on a lot of the platinum that you are purchasing. It is also possible to get platinum without even using real-life money. You can actually earn separate mods and rare items throughout the game and sell them at your clan dojo or the guild system that's in this game. And through that, you can actually earn in-game money without actually using the microtransaction system, which is a really cool thing. To me, the quintessential part is that Warframe restricts purchasing specific mods with in-game currency, which is important to me because mods are essentially the big dominator of how effective your Warframe and weapons are. And without that, you're simply buying a fancy gun that does about the same amount of damage and quality that you get for the beginning weapon that you could possibly earn. Even for the minor PvP system that they've recently implemented, it doesn't really affect it because it limits the specific amount of Warframes due to the balancing issues that there are in this game, as well as it limiting many of the weapons and making sure that you can't install mods in order to gain an advantage, which is very important. Now to wrap up my thoughts on Warframe, this is one of the best free-to-play games that you have on Steam right now. I highly recommend it. There are a few issues still, many things to work on, especially the stealth system, the part that I talked about. Out of my 4 rating systems, whether or not to pass it, try it, play it, or pay it, I would recommend to pay it. It is definitely worth your time and your money, and I hope you have all enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe, and comment down below for any suggestions for future free-to-play reviews. I have been Shoelace, and have an excellent day. See you later.